What's up, Super Swim Team? So DC Universe ended up being a real box of surprises when it came to the quality of its content. One of the biggest surprises was how much I actually ended up liking Titans. And to be fair, I just want to throw this out there. I already like campy, schlocky garbage like Flash and Riverdale. Right out the gate, Titans was already better than anything DC related that's on CW right now. And I dare say that it's even better than some Marvel shows like Iron Fist or Inhumans. Even though it's still not quite as good as shows like Luke Cage or Jessica Jones. May they rest in peace. Much like the Marvel Netflix shows, Titans deals with much more mature themes than the shows on the CW. The shows deal with the occult, demonic possession, physical abuse, parental manipulation, and even drug abuse. But the heavy tone of the show doesn't weigh it down too much, and in my opinion, it's a much welcome change to have a show deal with something so different and take such a different tone for once. Now, there are a few oddities here and there that kind of frustrated me, like the fact that Beast Boy can turn into a tiger. How convenient. But nonetheless, I still found myself really enjoying the show more than I ever expected to. But at the same time though, I can still understand why others didn't enjoy it as much as I did. There's a really melodramatic tone to the show, and things get way too overly angsty sometimes. I'll definitely agree that sometimes the tone does get too edgy, but at the same time though, I don't think they ever get quite as melodramatic as some of the CW shows like Arrow do. Whereas shows like Flash and Legends of Tomorrow carry a goofy and Silver Age tone, the tone of Titans is a lot more akin to a Dark Age comic from the late 80s or early 90s. Think Arrow Season 1 or Season 2. And when I say Dark Age comic, I mean that in a good way, like a Frank Miller Dark Knight way, not in a bad, extreme, Rob Liefeld way. I just want to make that clear. The show has really quick pacing, and sometimes that can be a little bit jarring. But one of the things I think the show does exceptionally well is showcase the team's power sets in fight scenes. I really love watching Robin fight because it's pretty much everything I've always wanted to see from the character in a live-action TV show. I really love Dick's characterization, and his arc over the course of the season really has an interesting path. And honestly, I can't wait to see where it goes in future seasons. I think the character's ties to Gotham City were really interesting, and bringing in Jason Todd to tie things together was a really smart move, especially considering we all know what ends up happening to that character later. Another surprise about the show was how much I loved Starfire's characterization, even if it is a step away from the bubbly princess I grew up with in the 2003 show. I love the music that accompanies her whenever she powers up in some of the earlier scenes, and all the music they chose really suits the character well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a no. Wait!
Out of the whole lot, Beast Boy and Raven were the characters I was least impressed with. I felt like a lot of Raven's writing was cliché and lacked nuance. She felt like a copy-pasted problematic pixie dream girl instead of a well-rounded thought-out character. And while Beast Boy was fun, I never felt like he had a real reason for being there outside of fleeing from the Doom Manor. Plus, the fact that he could only transform into a tiger was kind of frustrating. I get they have a limited special effects budget, but I'm just so used to his power set being used in unique ways from the shows and comics I grew up with, so to see him limited to just one animal makes him feel like a really cheap tiger version of the Hulk. But maybe I'm just being cynical. Maybe he'll turn into more animals later. We'll see. I think another problem the show faces is that while the bonds between individual characters seem strong, they lack that same chemistry as a group. Instead, the group always feels like they're a bunch of ragtag rebels on the run, instead of a team of individuals united to stand together for a unique purpose. I really hope they fix this in Season 2, but honestly, I think it took them so much time to set things up this season that there just wasn't much time for much else. Maybe if the season had been a little bit longer, we would have gotten to see this, but hopefully they'll fix it in Season 2. Even though Batman was never seen in full, and he only made appearances through flashbacks and dream sequences, His presence was always looming. Through Dick and Jason, we got a pretty good idea of who Batman is and why Dick left in this universe, which is pretty interesting and compelling to me. Batman's appearance in the dream sequence of the last episode was pretty great, and personally, I loved seeing him get acknowledged and used well without being put at the forefront of the narrative. Whoever writes the next Justice League should really take notes from that one. I thought the season finale was a pretty fun ride, but also kind of frustrating considering how the season ends on a cliffhanger. And the majority of the last episode is more or less one giant dream sequence. But at the same time though, that does have me more excited for season 2, I guess. Given the way people have been blasting this show on social media, I honestly expected to hate it, but instead I've really grown to love it. This show was really a much welcome surprise. Each of the characters were pretty interesting and faithful to their comic incarnations, even if they do differ a little bit from the 2003 cartoon that I grew up with. Way back in the day, I was so unbelievably disappointed when Young Justice got cancelled by Cartoon Network. And honestly, I think that's when Cartoon Network finally died to me. I mean, it had been dying out for years, since 2007 pretty much, but when they axed Young Justice, that was when I just gave up on the network altogether. So seeing that DC Universe brought Young Justice back was almost enough to warrant a subscription for me alone, just because I loved Young Justice that much. But, to be fair, the animation may not be quite as good as it used to be. I mean, I'm still happy to have the show back and all, but you can really tell the animation's quality has taken a huge hit, especially when you compare this scene from Season 1 way back in 2013, 2014, something like that, to this scene in Season 3 from 2019. I still thought the show was well written enough that I can kind of overlook some of the flawed animation, but with that being said, you can still tell that they're kind of struggling with the new animation budget. Another thing they really struggle with this season is balancing all the characters on the show. Already in Season 2 they struggled with balancing all the new characters, but now they've already added 10 more important characters, which pushes a lot of the characters I wanted to see, like Impulse and Blue Beetle, out of the limelight altogether. And this is a problem still, 10 or 11 episodes in. Like I said before, Blue Beetle and Impulse have barely had any appearances outside of brief cameos, and honestly, I can't even remember if characters like Spoiler and Cassandra even got speaking roles. But that being said, I still can't wait to see the rest of Season 3 when it finishes out this summer. Even though I did complain a little bit earlier about all the new characters, I do really like the new characters actually. Even if they do detract from the core cast of Season 1 and 2. I was a little taken aback by the way that the new season deals with subject matter. It's a lot more intense than Cartoon Network ever would have allowed. Just as an example, this season deals with political corruption, political infighting, and even human trafficking. And I know Young Justice has never shied away from some topics before, they kind of touched on drug abuse with both Roy, I can't remember if it's Roy or Speedy, whichever one was the clone or wasn't the clone, I can't remember at this point, and then Superboy's super patches that he got from Lex Luthor. One of the things I really liked about this season was how the Justice League split into two factions. I thought that was really interesting, and the ramifications it has on the team was pretty interesting too. With the focus of the season being split between the team, the league, and the outsiders, it feels like they might be building this universe to have more shows spin out of it, which personally I would love. I think the fact that all the leaguers have new costumes is also further evidence of that. I really like the fact that we only skipped 2 years instead of 5, because it helps this season feel a lot more connected to Season 2 because of the way the characters are still dealing with the fallout of the Reach invasion and Wally's death. I thought it was really great that DC could build a narrative and story that newcomers could just jump onto easily, while still carrying on the story from Season 2. I also thought it was funny that some characters like Ra's al Ghul, Katana, and Metamorpho all show up around the same time, considering they were all a part of another cancelled DC Nation show, Beware the Batman. I kind of wonder if that nod was a little bit intentional, but regardless, there are some other fun nods to DC shows here and there as well. Like that really intense Beast Boy episode with the Doom Patrol Go part. Oh my god, that was intense. That was crazy. That was too much, honestly. That might have been a little bit too much.
Elastigirl, Rita, please. I lost one, Mom. I can't lose you too.
Okay, Patrol, spell it out.
T-I-E-T-I-E-T-I-E, let's die!
Yeah, we're not gonna make it.
No. I can't watch this. I gotta get out of here.
It's okay, Gar. Now that both your moms are dead, you can come live with your big sister.
Hey, yeah, cause Cause I'm your brother from another mother and another planet. Where you going, Mento?
Hello, Garfield. I'm chickening out. How else could I hide in shame for years? Then resurface, claim dubious parental rights, take you away from Miss Martian, and exploit your meta powers to make me rich!
Wow, he's a jerk.
Noted.
You didn't have to go with Mento. McGann was totally willing to fight for you.
That's true.
I was 14. I didn't have a choice.
Oh, really? Well, no point in sticking with her then.
McGann!
Might as well channel surf.
But all that being said, I really enjoyed the first part of this season, and I can't wait to see the second half in early summer. So with all that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.